Hey guys, I'm back, and I'm back quick. This is actually an addendum to a video I just did called Figuring Out the Political Moment and What to Do About It in Real Time. Hell of a title. I just put that up, and I'll say this for it. Look, what I do here is extemporaneous. If I bring anything to the table, what's your hidden talent? Well, maybe my talent is just the gift for gab, I suppose. It's not hard for me to just burn. And I like folks who burn without editing and just can. I appreciate people who can just extemporaneously speak. There are disadvantages. It might be more disjointed. It's not obviously as well planned. But there is upside. And the upside is I think it's more genuine. And, pregnant pauses like that should give you an idea that there's no script here. So I think that's the last video, and I liked doing it because I was figuring it out in real time in front of you guys. Trying to get a sense of, okay, I ever know where we're at. What is the response to where we're at? Not only the individual response, but what is the response to the various people out there, the various actors, and who gets a pass or who doesn't, or does nobody get a pass? Right now, not for me, and probably nobody gets a pass. So I wanted to get into, I touched on a few things, and then I kept thinking about it. And said, geez, I wish I'd gotten that in, but it was a long video as it was. But I was like, you know what? I want to come back and just hit a couple, maybe clarify a few things too. One of the things I was worried about is that, I have reached a point where I'm sort of throwing my hands up in the air and go, you know what? You've done this to yourselves, American people. Knock yourself out. See how you like it. See how this works. And I have no idea how any of this is going to play out, and anyone predicting is filled with folly, as we've just recognized. If, you were one of those like me raising your hand going, I got it wrong. So, we're not going to be in the predicting business. We shouldn't be. I think we should. Everyone does that in election. But I mean, in the main, we're going to very uncertain times. I don't know where it's going to go. But from where I sit, it doesn't look great, right? And that seems reasonable. So I didn't want the idea to come across that I'm advocating for apathy. What we all should do is not be involved. No, hardly. I think we should always keep an eye on things and know what's going on. I'm a person who's generally a news hound, so I live in that and always have. But if you're that deep in it, coming up for air a little bit and getting a little distance for it probably isn't a bad idea. But I'm not suggesting divorcing yourself from all things no, you might want to for a week or two. I don't necessarily blame you for that. But in the main, we want to keep, even if you're sitting there going, okay, this is going to be real ugly, I really don't want to watch the train wreck. I'm going to, okay. But there's some tendrils, there's some ability to say somewhat connected to, okay. So I'm not advocating for just quitting, giving up, no. I think it might be good for your mental well-being to recognize what a mess it is. You may not be, almost assuredly not, depending where you voted, you weren't responsible for this mess. You didn't vote for it. You were opposed to all that. Good for you. So now, you don't necessarily, you need to be informed, but you don't necessarily owe it your complete total attention, and probably not healthy for you to do so. You will be a wreck. You can't live like that. You have to be able to get enough distance so you could function, frankly. So maybe that puts a better context on that aspect of it. And one of the things I've been thinking about, because I hit this yesterday, is I really knocked. Look, I'm on the left. It's not, I know a lot of people said it's not time for the left to start fighting amongst themselves. So we must. Okay. When you get defeated by the worst presidential candidate of all time, a 2 times impeached, convicted felon, when that wins, I don't care whoever is on the other side, they're incompetent. By definition, they should not be in charge of anything. It's disqualifying. Right? Now, we're going to be careful about this one too, all right? Because there is a tendency to want to cancel very quickly, right? And there's another tendency to never cancel at all. Okay? And both are bad. This requires some discernment. We have to be able to recognize the moment when something has gotten, and I think it's long overdue in the case of Democrats, democratic leadership, and all of that. I think they've been a mess for a long time, boy. And I think, from the point of view of just regular folks who are on the left, maybe not a Democrat like me, but they're on the left, and sit there and go, oh, listen, this is obviously unsustainable. And if those guys remain in charge, it tells me that there's a game afoot here. This is about power, right? And it's not necessarily, there must be voices that would say things that would resonate with regular people. And you figure they're just not getting a turn at bat because they're not playing the game within the clique, which is to a degree what political parties are, right? So, but that what's there, I guess it'll keep on being awful. At some point, it's going to have to disintegrate, if it's like this. It just would make sense to, why waste 10 years? Why, right? Why not? I have a feeling there's going to have to be some turnover there. But, so when it's time it's time to show at the door. It's time to show at the door. Show at the door. I think long since time. That being said, that other extreme of nothing is ever good enough and nothing is ever perfect enough. And I think that's one of the things really haunting the Democrats and leftism in a general sense right now. And this has been going on for a while. And the reason, again, I'm back here is because I've had a very hard time putting my finger on this, being able to find it. I knew there was something bothering me and I couldn't sort of put it into words. And I'm not a person having trouble putting things into words. I've had a hard time with this. And yesterday, doing real time in front of y'all, the talking cure. I performed the talking cure. And some things start to make a little more sense. And I'm not finished. You're getting it in real time. But it seems like there is this penchant in all decision making when you get it on the left, a penchant for, we've got to get it perfect. It's not we've got to get it right, we've got to get it mostly right. We've got to get it perfect. We're going to keep working it till it's the absolute, and if it's not perfect, then don't do it, nothing. No, wait, we need more time. We've got to get it. And if it's not perfect, well, virtually any decision that's made, it's immediately pilloried by all sorts of folks on the same side, and always sort of within moral and ethical prism. That the law of unintended consequences, well, we don't know how that's going to play out after 3 years or 5 years or 10 years. Therefore, and there could be moral implications of that, so you can't do it. There's always a reason not to do anything. And it can get like that when you make decisions by committees. You go, well, are you an authoritarian? No. Listen, the minute you go, let's make a decision, doesn't turn you into that. Right? The minute you sit there and go, yes, I believe in democracy, doesn't mean it's all comes down to let's have more red tape and committee meetings. No. This guy there, let's stop doing the slippery slope stuff. Let's find that middle ground between strategic thinking and tactical thinking and so forth, and be able to do both. So it's, the failure of the legal system the past 4 years strikes me as being connected to this need by judges and by various people so worried about every bit of minutia, we might not get it perfect. Trying to thread the needle on all of it and getting it just right. And the delay that causes. Essentially, they ran out the clock on the legal system because it was possible to wring out, right? It was possible to do that. So they did. The fact that it was so obvious that someone even tried it and got away with it should tell you what a problem that is, that system couldn't, unless it was absolutely perfect, we're not going to, and always a moral, well, some people might perceive it this way, so we can't do that. Some people are always going to perceive it in a negative way. I'm here. No matter what any of us do here, me, you, any of the people out there, no matter what we do, someone's going to hate it. You're not going to win. And in politics, I know it's important to be able to have consensus and so forth. But, again, it's a matter of degree. And if you've gotten to a point where every decision becomes, it's not perfect enough, it's just not good enough, it's just not perfect enough. And I have a feeling that is why a lot of folks didn't vote. For whatever reason, they found Harris, well, she's not quite perfect. Which is the same problem they had with Hillary, she's not quite perfect. They didn't seem to have that problem with Biden. They voted for Biden. You say, well, see, it's misogyny. Maybe it's misogyny. There's no doubt we live in an extremely misogynistic culture. That's no shock. So that's probably part of the equation. I don't think it's the only equation. Everyone's trying to find the one answer, a silver bullet. I don't think there's a silver bullet. There's a lot of forces at work here. But well, unless it's right about my pet issue, then I won't vote. Again, nuance, all right? I'm on the left. I'm not a Democrat because they don't fight hard enough, and they're not, to a degree, not leftist enough. They're not leftist with a backbone. That's my real problem. But when it comes time to vote, I vote for them every time. Because voting isn't about my issue. It isn't, it should not be about your self-interest. It's about, right? We get a chance to sit there and go, oh, wait, big picture, strategic, overview. Let's look at the whole thing. What's right for my country? What's right for the country? What direction should the country be going in? Shouldn't just be, but I'll get a tax break because I need another nickel. Give me that money. No. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. And there are people who've grown up believing that. Well, it's a basic philosophical difference. It's not all about bread and you. It's got to be about bigger stuff than that. So, I think that is, we can't sit there and make a decision, every decision being, how will it play in 10 years from now? You can't know. So that's bad management. And that seems to be rife through the people who are doing all the heavy thinking for the Democrats, but all over the place. I'm sure there are many Democrats that sit there and go, well, in most of our large corporations, it goes around that way and blah, blah, blah. That's your example? That's your idea? That's your Bell ideal? I hope not. They are intentionally risk-adverse organizations. I don't want things run, on a string. I mean, yes, I want responsibility and so forth, but I can't have it so that we can make no decisions, and we can't make them with speed. And they come, decisions by committee never, I'm sorry, this is the musician in me. They don't land well. They don't play well. Politics there's got to be there is a degree of showbiz to it. It's how people react to it. It's important. And you'll find neither political party has a clue where that stuff is concerned anyhow. The few times you get somebody who can really speak and electrify people, suddenly it's a huge moment. Wouldn't be really that huge a moment in any other sphere. Plenty of people know how to speak. So, I'm not one to say, find your, I'm not with, I've got my one pet issue and they're not perfect, therefore I'm not voting. You're an idiot. You've helped bring this on to us. That kind of thinking has done that. But the Democrats putting everything, and it comes off terribly because someone will say, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? And then the finger wag starts. Well, morally, that wouldn't be the right. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that. It can't always be. And good luck. We're going to wait to find moral perfection before we do anything, ethical perfection, which is something we can't even agree on. But until we get that percentile, we're going to wait for that percentile, or we're going to aim. You can't. You have to make decisions, I think, in real time with the information that you have. Right? This is not news, right? I'm not saying anything radical or new here, but we're not practicing that. For some reason, we've been hijacked by these ideas that, no, everything's got to be absolutely perfect. And that you see that standard play out with the Democrats, with that crowd, with the left. Unless it's perfect, they're not behind it, boy. That's not affecting the other side. The other side will gladly vote for the worst human in the world if they think it might represent them or push what they think. So, and that was successful. You've got to. You're not going to make every decision perfectly, and yes, it's a wonderful thing to aim for. But maybe we're aiming for a little bit too much. Make the best decisions you can make now. Obviously, with an eye to the future. Okay, but name a plan from a particular administration that really has long-lasting effects. Now, there are some, whether they become Supreme Court choices or various things that outlive administrations, and right, people say that, well, Obama's got they had the healthcare thing as survived. Right, there are things that do, but many things do not. I would say most things do not. Very few things survive from these various administrations. Some do, and some are long-lasting, and some are very painful as a result. So, the old elections have consequences. I think we're going to have to, we're going to need to have a much, the left is going to have to get its, before any, you can't fix the rest of the world until you're in the airplane and the air takes off. What's the first thing they tell you? Put it on yourself, then put it on your kid, because you can't save the kid until you can save you. I have a lot of thoughts about that lately, right? Where does that end? I'm talking about, you have to think about the country as a whole. I made that point earlier, and I made it, hopefully, fairly strongly. And I think you do. But then there also comes a point where you have to make decisions for yourself. And is there a point where you have to say, okay, I have to take care of me in this environment so I have a chance to take care of those other things? I'll give you an example. This is very silly, and it's purely anecdotal. But I saw someone on Instagram who was saying she lives in a very red district. I'm a blue dot, right? She's alone in this district, or feels that way. There aren't a lot of liberals. And she'd like to move. Seems reasonable thing to want to do. Want to get out of this. Good. Sounds fine. But I really shouldn't. Morally, that would be wrong, because We need more blue people here so we can turn this state. Come on. You're going to sacrifice, you're going to sacrifice years of your existence. Because maybe, a Senate seat will switch. I don't think, no. I think at some point, because your one vote difference is going to, at some level, you do have to take care of yourself. That is, you do. I'm not saying, there are bigger issues. There are things outside of ourselves. We should care about those things. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, there are people who would say, no, the only thing that matters is you. No. I'm not. But is there ever a point where you have to worry about you? Yeah, of course there is. Again, there's this balance here, but I think the balance is all over the place. And I don't think it should be that hard to recalibrate. I think we need a liberalism that's very, very pissed off, very tough, very willing to fight. Period. Willing to break some rules. Well, we mustn't do that. We can't. Ethically, that's got to go. That, I really think, that thinking that has been coming along really since, late 90s, and political correctness was a form of that, and it's turned into this thing, and it's got to go. It leads to losing. I want a lot more punch from my liberals. And I think they've got to get over these. I'm not saying don't be moral and don't be ethical, but you've also got to respond to the times. The law has been broken and is going to be broken some more. If you're still sitting around playing by rules that no longer exist, we're not even in the same sport anymore. You can't. That's not the answer. It's not the answer. And you say, well, that could lead to some dangerous stuff. It's already in dangerous stuff. We've crossed that Rubicon long ago. Now it's just a matter of when are people going to recognize it. Anyway, this is more of working it out in real time. I don't know. You listen, again, you may disagree violently. It's fine. That Dave guy's an idiot. Great. I'm going to be that worried about it. Some people are going to think I'm great and some people are going to think I'm lousy. Oh, imagine that. Oh, my Lord. I'm so shocked. The whole thing's crazy. All right, you kids take care. Feel free if you have any thoughts, whatever. It's all good. But this is an evolving thing. And listen, at least with me, I'll talk to you about it. No script. It's very interesting. Last thing I'll talk to you about. My son goes to one of the best schools in the country for communications. Great communications school. And he has to give presentations. And he was over Thanksgiving break. He was talking about his philosophy of giving a presentation. My wife is an attorney. And she's a corporate executive. And she has to give presentations. And for her, she's not a natural at it, never felt she was, isn't necessarily comfortable with it. And for her, she wants everything scripted. She memorizes it and gives the performance, right? But the presentation is, and as a lawyer, I'm sure it has to be, right? They're very careful with their words for a reason. Has to be. Okay. I'm a jazz musician, right? Or I was a jazz musician, or whatever the hell I am now. But as a musical person, I'm ready to go. Let's go. And I like it. I like the extemporaneous. Son, interestingly, I thought he was like, he's not going to agree with anything I've got to say. He's going to go with his mom. And he's like, it's interesting. We're like, yeah, what's interesting? He's of both minds. He's being taught, again, great school, and they're saying, they're not teaching what my wife does, which I bet 10 years ago they were. They're saying, don't seem too scripted, because it's got to land with people. Be able to speak. So I'm over here, my wife's over here, and my son is being taught to do something sort of a hybrid. And I think in many respects, what he's being taught is, that's a good way to be taught. You want to be able to have both bounds. You want your preparation, but you also want to be able to, when the moment comes, hopefully be glib. All right, I'll talk to you crazy kids. Try to keep your chins up. I don't know if I'll talk to you before the holidays, but I'll be in touch soon enough. And yeah, well, then we'll be into a new year, and everyone will be worried about the next thing coming, and I'll be trying to keep away from that. And maybe we won't talk current events for a while. Maybe we'll just get into musical stuff for a while. That might be a lot of fun. There's a lot to talk about, frankly. The subject is, the wonderful thing about that subject and being into it is, from a creative point of view, I don't think it ever ends, as far as being interesting and finding different ways to approach it and different approaches to creativity, etc. Talk to you guys soon. You guys have good holidays in the meantime.